Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of City Skylines. As always, if you'd like to see another episode tomorrow, 2,000 likes and we'll do another one of those. Thank you for all your terrific feedback on the last episode. It was really great to read through all of the comments, and in there I got a really cool mod. Well, it looked like a very cool mod. Unfortunately, it's not quite as flexible as I would have liked it to have been. But we're going to go over a couple of the mods that I've installed in between the episodes. The first one is No Seagulls mod. Some of you pointed out there was one for this. And when we fly over these areas, you can see there's no more pesky seagulls, which is fantastic because they were getting really annoying. So they are gone. And as well as that, I also installed a mod that would allow you to, and you can see one of the other mods that we've installed right here, it would allow you to resize this panel and make it bigger. However, it was very finicky, and I think one of the other mods might have been conflicting with it, so it didn't work. And that was unfortunate. But anyway, I've been working on the city. I really have been. I've put in a lot of time into this, and it just feels like we've gotten to this point in the game where, I don't know, it feels like the city's so big it's kind of thrown itself out of balance, because look at the amount of commercial that we've created down here. And the demand for that is going up, so is the industrial, which is crazy. The residential demand just never seems to go up, which is bizarre. So we still have this weird crime problem where these crime bubbles keep popping up. I saw some over here in the distance. Let's try and spot those again. Maybe they've gone away now. But they seem to pop up a lot more frequently than they did before we built the Hadron Collider, which educates everyone in the city. And in this game, education and crime are linked together. Also got a few abandoned buildings over here. That's strange. So anyway, here's where the crime bubbles are. Okay, that actually makes sense. It feels like whenever I plop down a police station, the crime just moves to a new area. And this is one that doesn't have... Oh, apparently it does have coverage. Okay, so perhaps we just need a second station, or maybe I'll upgrade that to police headquarters. How big is this building? It is quite big. We would really have to think about that as to where it goes. Maybe we could remove that park and put it right there, although this area looks like it could do with one or two parks. So that's something I'll take on in a moment, but I've been going around adding a few fire stations and police stations, so our budget's dropped down from around 35,000 to 25,000, and we've taken care of a lot of the crime problems. The crime rate's down to 7%, but as I just described, these bubbles just keep popping up here and there, and you have to move a police station near it. So now we've got some down the end of this road, and I don't know, it feels a little bit strange. But anyway, as I said, I zoned all of this area down here with commercial, and all of that's been moved into, and all it's done is increase the commercial and industrial demand. It's just starting to boggle my brain a little bit as to why the residential doesn't want to expand. However, our city is steadily expanding its population. So as well as that, I also worked on this area a little bit, just tweaking some roads, making some changes. Like over here, I put in a one-way road at the exit, and remove this exit to this side, so now the traffic goes into that area a lot smoother. And I did the same thing over here, just adjusting a few roads here and there, putting in some one-ways and upgrading most of them, because this place has absolutely boomed. Look at it, it's going crazy. Ever since we built that Hadron Collider, the city has gone into some sort of industrial craze. You can see the demand is through the roof, and I don't want to expand this area because look at the traffic through the middle here. It's pretty much at its peak, and if we were to fill in these zones over here, I'm pretty sure that that's going to send it over the threshold. So what I might do, in fact, now that I think about it, it sounds like a really good idea. This thing right here, what if we were to build another one of these over here somewhere? It would be very easy to hook it up to the trains, and then we just create another sort of in and out system around here, because at the moment they're using this road to get out of the city. So I could redesign that and expand the industrial there. Since there's demand to do so, that seems to make a lot of sense. But anyway, let's get back to that mod that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So over here, what I wanted to do is create a little agricultural field on the way up here, you know, some farms and stuff like that. And the way to do it, and I can actually show you, let's go and show you right now, is to create roads like this. I was thinking what we could do in most of this area is just create agricultural fields, although we're talking about aesthetics here. Build more industrial zones, we know, believe me. So what you would do is simply take roads like this, you go with this tool so that they look a bit more natural, and then we create some fields and sections like this, and I think that would do something like that. So it looks alright. I think we're going to need to get the tool out over here to make this work. So what kind of tree do we want to separate it? I think that one is the one I like the most. So if we just maximize this a little bit and make that look like a proper field, put a bit of space around it, then what you want to do is come along and just place the trees down around the outside of the road like this. Okay, we're going to put another road going up and connecting over to this bit. And as I do this, it's actually starting to look quite nice. The reason I decided not to do this, you'll find out in a moment. And this is going to be its own field, so what we'll do is put the trees on this side. So it kind of closes off this area back here, and this would be another field. And that's essentially what you're doing, just putting the trees alongside the roads so they kind of segregate the fields a little bit. And guess what, I've got to clear this area a little bit more again, so it makes more sense. There we go. And let's go back down to the regular tool and just finish that first one off. And they would come along this side like this. Alright, so there we go. We got some fields. I like the way the roads wrap alongside the trees here. You could also have a road sort of going to the middle of a field. But the big problem here is obviously that the texture is just very plain and there's not much to look at really. And that's one of the things that I've talked about before. So one of the tricks you could do previously would be to put down some rows of bushes like this. And yes, I know that doesn't look very good at all. But if you were to put in enough of these, at least they would look like rows of crops to some extent. And that's a lot of work to go and do that across this entire area. As I showed you before as well, there are some parks available for this kind of stuff. But none of them really capture it. So anyway, this other mod, it's a little bit cheeky and sneaky. I think the way they've got this to work is through some clever tricks, but that means that this stuff appears in the water and sewage area, and it will also conduct electricity, I do believe, and possibly spread water. So it's a bit of a strange one, but it's all about the aesthetics. So you can see here that we can create different textures at different sizes. So what we're going to do is lump this down in the middle of our field. Now notice how you can't place it against the roads. That's really important because it kind of limits what you can do with this. So it's not like a paint tool. You can't sort of just go around and drag it. It's an individual block that's going to sit there. Other buildings will collide with it, and it looks really cool. It needs some detail too, although it's a different colour, but that big square shape that it's got isn't really that great to work with. Now the other problem is when you go to demolish it, you get the confirmation message. That means that you can't sort of hold down click and drag in an area to remove it, which is actually really quite bad. It limits what you can do with this so much. It's such a shame because you can see there's a whole different bunch of them here. So let's put down concrete in this field. We'll put gravel in that one over there. We've just done agriculture. I'll put it down again so you can see it. And it looks like you can actually place bushes on top of it perhaps. Oh no, it just removes them. Okay, fair enough. So that was 3 of them, and I do believe there's one more. Or did I miss it? Nope, maybe it's actually the 3. Okay, we've got some other ones over here, so you can make parking spaces. Let's put a few of those down. You can rotate these by holding down right click as well. And then we've got this thing, that thing, and I do believe that's now it. So let's... Oh, we also got a billboard. That's interesting. Let's zoom out and have a look. Also, the billboard one's actually really cool. You could put them alongside your roads where you wanted to. That's awesome. So that's the marble floor. That was the other one. Then you've got your car parking spaces, concrete, agricultural fields, and this thing over here. So you might be thinking, well, do you know what you can do? You can take the smallest one and place down loads of them. So let's go for the 1x1 agricultural. Here's the thing, they do kind of line up well and you can put them next to each other. But then when it goes to removing them, you've got to bulldoze them individually. So like that, if we zoom out, that's what we want. We can work with that. We can make that wrap around the outside of our field, connect it up to the other blocks. I think the idea is that they're quite flexible and that they'll join together. So if we put some down the front here, let's see how well we can get it to go to the edge of the road. So if we put down a few like this, I'm starting to think that maybe actually we could work with this a little bit. Before I wasn't so keen on the way this worked, but there you go. We've put down a few textures to kind of bring them all together. Let's zoom out, and you can see there it did a pretty good job of joining up. So it would be possible to fill in these fields with different colours. It's just quite tedious, and my main problem is that the demolishing of them is like this. You've got to keep tapping enter each time you click, and so if you mess up or you change your mind, there's a lot of work to clean up. So I'm unsure about that, I really am. It'd be nice if it was like a proper paint tool and you could just change the texture and build on top of it, etc. And that's another thing, we won't be able to put any trees on top of there as well, so we couldn't add any detail to it. But out of all of those, I like the car parking spaces, they're really cool. And also the billboard one is awesome, I didn't know that was in the pack. In fact, another thing that was in the pack, because it is a collection, I'll put a link to it in the description box, don't worry, are some bushes. I haven't actually played around with these yet. But these would be great for fields, but again their placement is kind of tedious and I think they've got the same properties, so let's say we wanted some bushes here. I mean, you've got to do a right old job here of lining them up. I'll do my best and we'll zoom out and see what it looks like. Yeah, that one already looked pretty poor. So the placement of this is going to be a little bit awkward. Kind of looks awkward as well. I mean, it looks nice, but the way they don't line up, it does look awkward. Again, that needs to be a tool where you can drag it like a road. And then, look at this, to destroy it, we've got to press enter each time. So really cool stuff, but very tedious to use at the moment, which is kind of worrying because, yeah, it takes a long time to do all of this, as it is, placing down all of the trees individually. I was hoping to do that for this entire area, but quickly I realised that was not going to be easy. So I'm going to wait until some more mods come out and hopefully someone will be able to create something that solves those kind of problems and allows us to have better control of the aesthetics. So I guess for now we will jump back to city management and we'll work on this area here, try and expand our industrial and separate this area, and yeah, so we don't have any more traffic problems. So this section here has been nice and easy to rework, just added in a road on the side here. I could have made it squeeze a little bit further over, however this curve looks much nicer when it's done properly. So that goes up to the top here, and the roads have now got some one-way systems, like down here is a one-way, just to ease the traffic at this junction right here. So at the top, this road was already here, so I added another one on that side, and it's just the wrong way around. You can see we've got some serious traffic back here, actually. I'll have to investigate that. That might have something to do with the turns that we're adding here, creating lots of, yeah, turning issues for these guys, slowing down, trying to get in the correct lane, etc. So I'll address that, but we're basically going to swap these two roads around, because if you look here, it doesn't quite line up. That goes across the traffic to turn out, and you go across the traffic again to turn in. So if we swap those around, that'll help solve that problem. Okay, I'm developing some industrial up the side here and around the corner to get power to our new station, but here it is, and it's connected up like this, over the top into that area, and round alongside here into this area. It looks pretty crazy, but I like it. We've put in a firehouse over here and a police station there. Also put an additional firehouse somewhere over here. I've noticed that our fire coverage of the city is not terrific, so there's some areas where we need more stations basically, and that's something we should do. None of these have ever burnt down, but you can see I've added more. You know, when I add these I don't really talk about it too much, but our electric demand just keeps going up and up, and at the moment our population just started to shrink a little bit, which is annoying because I've been setting this up, and now the demand for these things have gone down a little bit, but still lots of demand, and apparently I need to do the water pipes as well. Alright, so people are moving in, there are parks and services, so we're ready to expand our production in this area. A little worried about this road. It is attracting a lot of traffic. It's a little through road into this area, and that might change the traffic balance in other places as well. But overall it's flowing. It is pretty congested, but it's moving at least, and yeah, we're going to watch that expand. So over here there's something else I forgot to mention. Really cool asset I found on the workshop. Again, this is another park. This is a track and field, an indoor facility. I'm going to leave that one running, even though it does cost a little bit of money. Its thumbnail there, as you can see, is a little bit strange. It's a very cool looking building. Kind of looks like it's slightly sloped into the ground on one side, like it's raised more on one than the other, or maybe I'm just seeing things. Feels like that. That could be the slope of the land. And by the way, I found that Reddit post. Do you remember over here we were experimenting with these buildings? Well, I found the Reddit post, and what I'd done wrong is putting the parks in between. What you're supposed to do is put a strip of residential, then a strip of commercial, residential, and then offices. So I've actually done that over here, and you can see that all of the offices and commercial have developed, but the residential haven't. So I think the idea is now that all of these spaces are being used, and overall you'll have households that also have, you know, offices to go work in and commercial buildings to buy stuff from, and overall the amount of workers in each place and the amount of residents is more efficient than the big blocks like this. So what we'll do is we'll expand this up this street all the way up to the top properly, but again we need some residential demand before the rest of that is going to happen. And this over here, we'll leave it for now, but we might change that later on. It was a fun experiment to do, but anyway, we're going to continue focusing on the industrial area. So now that we've expanded, we've got some worker shortages problems, we've got some raw material problems. If we go over to this area, did just expand the zones a little bit, but there isn't too many worker shortages messages, and I think that means we could probably expand these industries over here. So there's something that I want to note, and one of the reasons I've been struggling with this area over here is because it's finite. You know, we run out of the materials, and then it seems like, what's the point? And look at this, we've already run out of all of that oil we've put over there. So I'm going to ask you guys, do you want me to install the mod that creates these resources right here as infinite, so we can continuously mine ores and we can continuously mine oil, and then that way once we set up a stable area over here, it will just stay that way, which is what I'd be happy with doing, but I kind of feel like it is a little bit cheaty, so leave a comment and let me know. I'll gather up some feedback and we'll decide what to do about that, but then that should help stabilize this region over here. But for now, what I want to do is finalize this area, so you can see that I've put down lots of bushes and going around putting in little paths. I think I put one over here, readjusted the rail a little bit, and I just want to put in the finer details to this area. And one of the things that I've done is added a few more paths here and there, and I put them around the backs of buildings as well. And I'm trying to find the place where I first did that, but I seem to have completely forgotten. But anyway, over on this side over here, I've cleared out this field, and I'm going to put a different type of bush in that area, so it kind of separates itself a little bit. And then you can see we've got this path that goes alongside the back of all the buildings, and then a row of trees behind it. Now, it looks alright at the moment. It's going to look a lot better when this field right here isn't so bare. And even though it just ends here, I guess I could actually add a little path, couldn't I? I could do a raised one up, which might look really good. So let's try that out quickly. We just go from there to there, then down, and it curves. That's something I didn't know this thing did. There we go. And kind of looks alright, not the greatest of features, but anyway, it goes all the way alongside here, and I'm just working on separating this area from everything else now. So you can see we've got this type of bush to fill in the spaces, and then I'll probably put in a few more details here and there. And then where we need a border, we're going to have this path. So I think the only other place that's really going to appear is over the back here. We'll put down a path and some trees, and it'll separate this area here as well. Well, it's a funny old game. I finished doing the industrial area, putting in all of the final details, and there wasn't actually too much more to do, like a row of trees over here. And I put in lots of paths behind the buildings as well, just to give it a bit of a different look. And I think it's good overall. However, you may have noticed we've now been hit by a problem. By the way, this button right here, you can configure what appears on this thing. Our unemployment dropped down drastically and then rose back up again, which is interesting. And also, we have a death problem in the city again. If you look at our population, it's just started shrinking again. So I think that boom is now going bust, and we've got a load of people in the city who've gotten old and are dying. And if we go and look at our city statistics, which I don't think we do enough, there's a kind of sign of what's happened here. So if you remember, we had our look at that. Our education's jumped right up. Our amount of students has dropped all the way down because we brought the Hadron Collider, and it's affected some other things as well. Like our tourist tax income has actually been declining for a while before there, which is interesting. And remember how we removed the connections to the outside? I think that's had a lot to do with it. So if we look at how much this actually is, like 1,600 compared to 800, it's gone down by half, but it's not a lot overall, so I don't think I'm too bothered by that. Happiness is okay. There was a couple of other interesting ones around here. I can't remember which ones they were now. Available jobs, there you go, that's rocketed up. Employment, look at this, it just all of a sudden dropped down to just above 60%, which is really strange. The death rate here has rocketed up because we're in one of those problems. So the birth rate's shot down as well. Influx of people coming into the city is shot down. I mean, it's just starting to recover by the looks of it. But you can see here, as always, little ups and downs, and every now and then a rapid explosion leads to... Sorry, a rapid increase leads to a rapid decrease as well. And this, if you're wondering, if you haven't seen the beginning of the series, is where we tried to unlock some of... well, all of the different unique buildings by basically sending the city into chaos so we could raise the crime rate and unlock buildings and things like that. So we recovered from that, and now we've had a big boom, and now we're going to have a big bust. So what I'm going to do is work our way through that in between episodes, because you've seen how it works before. We just have to kind of wait it out. I could build tons of crematoriums, but then they'd just be sitting there doing nothing. You can see our availability is well and truly over what we need. So I'm going to wait this one out, and I'll see you in the next episode. Of course, be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think about doing the infinite ores for this area over here. I think it's a good idea just because, you know, then we'll be able to see what it's like when you've got something steady running, because at the moment it's not steady at all, is it? Look, we're down to 14 units a week on that one and 0 for ore again, which is not good. But anyway, that's going to be it from me this episode. If you've enjoyed it, 2,000 likes and there'll be another daily episode tomorrow. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.